welcome to the Creative Constitution podcast. Today I'm joined by a special guest, Luke Mayze. Hello, Luke.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Thank you so much for joining the podcast.
It's fine.
Luke's just come off of, I guess, how long has it been since First Forever Love came out?
We shot it in 2019.
2019, and
And then there was COVID.
finding your distribution now, so very interesting stuff.
Yeah, we got all that going 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a while. And the COVID really messed everything up.
Oh.
It was good and bad for different reasons.
Yeah, for sure. And today's topic is really all about filming in remote locations. You filmed your film in the Philippines. It looks beautiful. And I was blown away by how public some of the locations were, because obviously the Philippines, I've lived there before.
Oh, have you?
So, yeah.
Where'd you live?
I was in Manila for almost 3 years.
Yeah, we shot 2 days there.
Yeah, I could recognize some of the locations.
Yeah, just the opening in the markets.
Yeah.
And there was one scene on the bridge. But we realised very quickly that it was not usable. It wasn't a good location in the sense that it's too busy. Like, you know, to get from the markets to that bridge was like a kilometre away. It took 3 hours to get there.
Wow.
Because of the traffic. And we had to put that into the schedule.
Yeah.
So.
It looked beautiful. I mean, the whole film looks really, really nice.
That's
How did you go
Philippines.
about, well, cinematographer too.
Yeah.
How did you go about finding the locations?
So how it happened was I was trying to get another film made, and we were close to getting it up, and it just didn't happen. And it's just getting really frustrating trying to make a film, get a first film made. So I'd always had that type of idea in my head and thought, well, maybe I should just make that. Maybe I need to do something even smaller than I thought. So originally it was going to be a very intimate movie, hotel rooms, all this kind of stuff. And I was telling my cinematographer, who's Xing Feng Chung, he's a great cinematographer, and I went to uni with him, about the idea of what I wanted to do. And he said, well, why don't we shoot that in the Philippines? Because he'd been working there for 4 years. So I went, all right, yeah. I used to say, hey, that's a great idea, because I thought, yeah, okay, now we've got millions of dollars of production design, and the idea I have, because we were thinking, mate, very early stages, or could we do this in Brisbane? But you can't really. So it was like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it. So that's how it started, to think of the Philippines. Then I wrote the script, not being there. But, you know, that's just, the Philippines is the backdrop. It's just that they're in an exotic land. That's all it needed. It wasn't about the Philippines. So I wrote it with some ideas, and then we went for a recce over there for like a week and a half with one of my producers, Janelle, and then with Fung and myself. So we went to Manila. So the first thing we did was I'd found that town Vegan where we shot most of the film. Online. I'd seen photos, like it was all this old-fashioned, like, you know, 18th century cobble streets and Spanish, and I'm like, where's this place? And I saw on the map, it's only 400 kilometres north of Manila. Let's go check that out. So we went up there, and it had that amazing street in it that we shoot part of the movie, and we got there, and it was amazing. We thought, everything is here we need. Everything we found the villa where he lives, which was all of the crew lived in that, and so did myself. And all except for the three girls, our two producers and our actress, they lived down the road in a hotel. So we all stayed in the villa. Everything was around the corner. Nothing was more than a kilometre away. We could literally, most of the crew could walk to the set every day or where we were shooting. Yeah. So all of it was shot in that town. And then at the end, we went back to Manila and did 2 days in Manila to shoot all that really big stuff in those markets.
That's amazing. Did you find most of the locations from the pictures?
Yeah, well, I found Vegan in pictures, and then we went there and said, yeah, this is it. So we pretty much knew we didn't have to find anything else. And then you just start adapting the script to the environment. And it was cool because I didn't realise we were going, we just walked it. Because it's not a big place, and we just used to knock on doors. So can we come in, look at these people's villas or houses and things? And we went to one place. And we went into a room that had a picture of Tom Cruise on the wall. And we're like, oh, yeah, what's that there for? This is where he stayed. I'm like, stayed? What did he make here? And they said, they made a film here, Born on the 4th of July. I'm like, and I love that movie. I'm like, really? They shot that here in Vegan? They go, yeah. And I said, what part? And then I realized they doubled all of Mexico and if you know the movie, which I love, and it's all the scenes on the beach where they're fighting, that was all shot in Vegan.
That's
so they
amazing.
made Vegan look like Mexico, which I can totally understand because it's all that Spanish influence.
Yeah.
And then they made it look like, so they shot that and then doubled it for Vietnam.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
How did you find did you have a big film crew when you went there? Like, did you find a lot of staring eyes? Like,
so
maybe
what we
the
did
novelty
was,
of film sets, that sort of thing. Did you have a problem with that at all?
Well, no, because Fung had already worked over there for 4 years and done proper big films and stuff. So he knew the infrastructure. So when we got there, we had to hire all the gear from the Philippines, but they got everything there that we need. So we hired all the stuff from where Fung had worked before, and then but when you hire gear over there, they give you the crew too. So you don't just get the gear, you get a crew because then you don't have to pay insurance because they're the ones who deal with all the equipment.
Right.
So it's not like they hand you over. So we shot on Alexa, we shot on all the gear, we had all the screamers and lights and everything we needed, and it was all at a much cheaper price than we would pay for it here. Yeah, so we organised all that because for a while they were thinking about going over there with our own gear, but we realised that was impossible. You can't get insurance on it, and it's really hard. I mean, not our own personal gear, but you can't go rent it out at like a Lemac or something and then take it out. You're gonna have to get all this stuff international insurance.
It would be so expensive too, like having to bring all that over.
And then we had a friend of ours, Alex. Alex, I'm so bad. Alex Schultz, my good friend Alex. He has a Steadicam, so he brought that, and he does all the Steadicam. He's a great cinematographer as well. But we had to split his Steadicam across 4 people's bags because it costs you a fortune. Like what I learned so much about was the hidden costs of everything, not just going away. It's then like, so you're basically going to have to pay. We ended up spreading all the gear across everyone's bag. So when I went over there with my cinematographer and Alec, originally we went ahead of everyone else. We didn't go with any clothes. We had a week where we just had undies put down our pants, and we had to, because
to save on the baggage cost.
Yeah, because we had to take all the stuff in our bags.
Yeah.
And so, because if you don't, it starts to be like $1,000 per every, I don't know how many kilos it is. So it starts costing you. You got to think about all these things, little things like international transactions. So if you got to pay the Filipino camera house, you suddenly realize you're going to get capped off another $1,000 just on top of your actual payment from the transfer, sort
of like the currency.
And but just the transferring fee, $1,000
wow.
thing. So all these things you don't think of, and suddenly you're just losing money all the time. So there goes another $1,000. There goes another $1,000, and that all adds up when you're not spending a lot of money and trying to keep your budget down as much as possible.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's $4,000 you just wasted on transfers.
When you chose the Philippines, I guess before you even chose the country, was it always in your mind that you wanted to film the part where they meet up in a remote location, or was it always out of the question that you weren't going to shoot in Australia? It was always going to be an international location.
Well, like I said, initially I was just coming up with an idea, and then very early Fung said.
So then you just got that suggestion.
But
it wasn't really on the cards, like when you wrote the script.
No, but I hadn't written the script. It was just an idea in my head.
Oh.
And then he said, why don't we do it there? I said, okay. And then I started writing the script.
Right, okay.
But we went from 2018, the start of 2018, with the idea, and we were filming by March 2019. And the movie was done by June.
That's wild.
Got it done real fast. Because, look, technically, it's a feature film, and it is. And, the Philippines made it way bigger than it looks.
Yeah, I mean, the production value looks amazing. It looks like you had millions of dollars to play with.
Yeah, and that was the intent. And that's, and we had really good actors. So they're the tricks. You got to get really good actors. And I've done a lot of short films and done a lot of work. So I'm not going in, I know exactly what I need to do as a director. Like, I know what you got to shoot, how you can shoot it, how you do stuff quickly. I've done hundreds of hours of directing actors in whether it's classes or on other stuff, so I don't have an issue with any of that. But we had to, every day had to be shot. Like we were doing around every day was about 7 to 9 pages a day of script, and that's like a normal movie would do one.
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like, the math doesn't quite add up here. That's crazy. But
you've seen the film,
they were very dialogue heavy and sort of like,
and how do you make that interesting for 85 minutes?
Yeah,
how do you keep
lots
it moving?
of different angles
and things, and how do you keep it interesting and moving? And that was a real challenge. So, like you see in the movie, the whole point where they wake up in the morning to the ending, except for one scene in a bathroom, all that was done in one day.
Wow.
And we were going so fast, and those actors were smashing it.
How many takes were you doing, like, on average? 3-4 per angle? Or
Yep.
Yeah.
But then some things, like, there are a couple of scenes like, God, I wish, not that I could do them again, because you can only work with what you have. But there's one of I think it was the first jeepney scene where they first have their interaction in jeepney, and she's, no, you can't take my photo. That was hard, and we were going so fast that we did 2 takes each and bang, okay, move on. But we never really filmed that as good as we wanted it. We're in the jeepney, we got extras in there, and they put all the gear on the thing to light it, and then it all fell off on the first run, and then everything starts going slow, and then we were late, and then it just, that day was really full on to get everything done.
I've been in a jeepney before.
Yeah.
They're very loud.
Yes.
So how did you go about that? Was that ADR that you added on top?
Surprisingly, we only ADR'd about 35% of the film. And Michael, who did the sound, most of the ADR was not in the outdoor stuff. Most of it was indoor stuff. And then there were a few lines here and there put back into the jeepney scenes, but only a few, not many. We did, so we were editing in 2019 doing sound. So that was right at the start of the AI that can go in there now and like basically start to take out the background. So we were utilizing that. But yeah, he smashed it. Like that, I don't know if you remember the scene where they're walking over that bridge. It's a one big long shot.
Yeah.
And then they're out, and then all the traffic's going past them.
Yeah, that was quite far away as
well.
well.
Michael was on the island next to them. So if you imagine a big giant road, he's on the island in the middle of that, all that chaos, walking along with them. So then the radio mics wouldn't go out of knack and all that. It's quite funny just seeing, if you just tilt the camera, he's just there. So just all those. But yeah, he did an extraordinary job because I hate ADR generally. And then some things like, the scene where they run out of the church and she's all like angry.
Yeah.
When we shot that, we were running late that day for other reasons, and that was really nearly nighttime. That was literally 6:30 at night, that shot.
Well, you couldn't.
You can't tell, but you wouldn't even know. But you wouldn't know because your brain thinks.
Yeah, that's right.
But it was late, and what happens is in the Philippines, because it's a Catholic country, they suddenly blast from the churches this loud chanting or hymns and all this stuff, and they wouldn't turn it off. Like, we got to turn it off. We can't get the sound. We can't get the sound. Eventually, I said, they're not turning it. All right, we're just going to have to ADR it. So that whole scene was ADR'd, and the funny thing was, Stephen was here in Australia with this, so we fixed it later. She was in England. I don't have money to go get a studio in England and get someone to go and record her. So
did you fly her over here?
No, I had a mate over there, a friend who I used to work with years ago, and she still had a video camera and a microphone because she does a bit of video. And I said, can you go over to this girl's house and I'll go on Zoom? And we just recorded the lines in her lounge room. You would never know. And I'm telling you, this was also a lot of the interior stuff. Some of that argument at the end was done that way. And then I remember that bit when they're running out of the church, I actually got them, we went back and did it one more time. So can you run around the garden? So we got them out the back of the garden in London somewhere, and she's running around the garden saying those lines.
Oh, wow.
And it all edited straight in.
That's amazing.
You don't need to spend all this money. Like, it's funny, I was talking to two of my best friends who are filmmakers as well, and they've done very well. And you just go, these days, you don't need to spend all this money. You don't need to be spending $300,000 in post-production. If you know how to use the equipment and you know how to edit yourself and you've got a good sound or something, you can do it all yourself. You don't need to. But
when you were going about the making of this film, did you sort of go look at your resources and be like, I have this amount of money and I've got these amount of resources, these are my things that I've got access to, so I'm going to write a script based on that?
Yep.
Right, so I find that's oftentimes what I see in like younger filmmakers is they'll write this amazing thing, but then they struggle to find everything and put the pieces together. That sometimes stops them right in their tracks. So sort of, how did you go about the making of yours?
Well, you're right. I mean, I agree. I think you should always work with what you have. And a lot of people, they'll go like, they're making a little movie and they go make a science fiction epic like Terminator 2. And so, but you can't pull that off. Because my thinking was, could I make a film that when it's done with a poster and everything, I can sit on iTunes and next to Before Sunset or other romantic type films, and would it play? Would it stand up against all of those? That's all I cared about.
Yeah.
So then how do you do that? So yes, production design is in our exotic locations. Get two really good actors that we can find. Well directed, great score, all those kind of things, but we utilize what we had instead of trying to utilize what we don't. And that's what that's what you say. I agree. A lot of people try and make something out of what they don't have, which then you're always... So then, you see these movies, people make them, and they make these kind of like science fiction epics with dodgy special effects. You go, but your film now can't sit on iTunes next to Terminator.
That's right.
Because your movie... Unless you made, like, Gareth Edwards' first film was called Monsters, and he made it about this couple walking through the South America. And only at the end was some special effects, but he knew how to do that because he was a special effects artist.
Right, yeah.
And then
he used the skills and
then he went on to do Rogue One and The Creator, but my point was he did it, so he made a little movie that utilized what he had, but a lot of people don't do that. So they think, I'm going to make the greatest ever Tarantino-esque thriller. It's like, but what, you're shooting it in Brisbane?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? Who are the actors? Because then you need to have a great script. You need to have really dynamic actors. How are you going to push above everything?
That's a good point. I think also viewers, they just will compare a budget of $50K to like $1 million
Of course they will.
movie.
They don't care.
They don't care what your budget was. They just care if it's good. Like Jazz and I love going on Tubi and just finding indie films that we can support. But oftentimes it's hard to get through them because even like subconsciously you're just like, let's just go to Netflix. You're gonna get quality. You know you're gonna get something that's gonna be pretty decent. Sometimes it's a fail, but
I completely agree.
It's just like audiences don't care what resources you had, and you can put all the excuses in the world. It's a crappy movie. They're not gonna watch it.
They don't care,
and they're not gonna tell their friends, or they might tell their friends, "Oh, it's really bad. You should watch it for a laugh."
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and I mean, our film, the name was changed by the distributor or the sales agent. It was originally called Sage of Time, which I still think is a better name for the film because he references that in the movie and he speaks about it. Forever First Love is a fine name, but I think it gives people the wrong idea of what they're about to watch. They think they're going to see some nice, light, romantic comedy type movie, and they're not. They're seeing. I'm not saying it's complex, but it's not what you expect. It goes down a different road to what you think, and it's a bit more sort of. And it's been interesting playing it to audiences because we've seen it in theaters, and people will come out arguing. It's great. Because they all defend one or the other, or they're like defending her, or they defend him, or they're like, they love him, hate her. It's really interesting.
Yeah. I definitely had my frustrations with the girl character a little bit. When I was watching it, I was like, does she have to be that uptight?
But it's interesting. And then there are people who thought she was awesome and thought he was a dick.
Yeah,
and it's really funny.
Well, I thought so too, because he's forcing him pretty much himself, like, not that way, but like he's forcing him, to take a photo and like wanting to do that.
But then someone else, I know women, especially older women, go, why wouldn't she just take a photo? Like, just get over yourself.
Very interesting.
She's been so and I agree, and that's what's funny because, and then other people argue over the scene in the dance club where she goes off and dances with the other guy, and they're like, how dare she?
Oh,
and then other people are like, why is he being such a wanker about it?
Well, she was playing hard to get, I guess.
Well, she was teasing him, and I don't have a judgment on either. I think it's funny, but people literally get so angry, and we saw it in theaters a few times. It played in Brisbane for like 6 weeks in theaters.
Oh, cool!
Because we put it on, and then they were so happy with the run that they just kept running it. I heard a guy just go near the end of the movie, bitch, and just get like physically angry at the screen. It's like, this is crazy.
Yeah. I obviously don't want to give the ending away, but I sometimes thought, well, they weren't even a good match, but...
Well, that was the point of the movie. The idea is that they have a connection and they have a chemistry, probably more sexually than anything else. But everything else, they're not the same people who they were. And I think he's still trying to imagine what they had, but that's not who they are anymore. They're people who are... It's what was it?
But also, I think he had a point too, because like she was clearly like also running away from something and wasn't very happy in her existing world and her reality, and she kind of just like puts that aside and goes back to something. Whereas I feel like you and I both know probably many people that have gone back to bad relationships or whatever, and that part I was like, wow. Actually, he did care about her.
He did, and I think that he was wrong.
Her, like, the puppy that you referenced, and
then I love in the ending scene, there's a moment he says something and he just turns away, and I love her look. And I told her to do that, the look on her face, because now it's like now he's not interested, and now she is. It's like
exactly. Yeah. The moment that he stops sort of caring, that's when she's like, ooh.
Well, now what am I doing wrong? Yeah, exactly. So, so all those things are in there, but you say Forever First Love, they think they're getting an Ashton Kutcher movie, and it's like, nah.
Yeah, actually, when I saw the title, and I think even the trailer, I think that's the sort of vibe I got. But
I cut that trailer too.
Oh, amazing! You really saved a lot of money. So, I guess one of the things I noticed at the end when the credits came up was you edited the movie as well. So was that a budget choice?
I love editing. I've always edited.
Oh.
But it is a budget choice because I could ask my best friend to edit, but he'd cost about $10,000 a week, and so I can't do that. But I have very talented filmmaker friends. The one thing I learned about filmmaking, and if you make a feature film, there's so many things to learn. Second unit. Because if you don't have those images and those shots and all those transition things to cut you from scene to scene, you are screwed. Because you can't just keep going from a scene of people in a room to another scene with people in a room to another scene with people. You need those textured things. Yeah, so you saw in the movie all the shots like dogs in the street or people in the street. Thankfully, my Steadicammer and great cinematographer again, Alex Schultz, he was always filming stuff for me. Just when we were on downtime, he was just turning the camera.
There were lots of really nice insert shots, even the dogs and
we used
the kids.
every single one.
Yeah.
And I wish I had 50 more, because you could have just laid in more and just shots of things. And if I just had my own camera, I just could have gone out and do it myself.
So did you always have 2 cameras going? Like
No, it was always one camera.
Oh, always one. Okay.
Yeah, and it was shot on the Alexa.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks amazing.
Yeah, I mean, Fung's very talented, but we talked a lot about. I didn't want it to look. I hate a lot of modern photography, cinematography. Everything looks plastic these days, and yes, because everything can be lit in no lighting and stuff, but it just looks like it's been lit in no lighting. And people kick, one lamp into a scene and go, yeah, that's good enough. But it looks, there's no art to it anymore. You're not lighting it, and so we purposely took really old lenses. And we did things to grain it up a bit. We didn't want it to. I hate that sort of high definition video look to everything now. We want to look cinematic, and so all that was purposely done. And they were designed. The costumes were all designed. What they were wearing. I mean,
I like the color schemes you went for.
Yeah,
it seemed like you sort of kept the colors quite similar across the movie, which I felt like brought it all together. I feel like now with modern day filmmaking, a lot of the movies, it's like you can take the scenes away. Yeah. And it looks like they're from different movies, whereas yours you can't. Like, I can literally go, that's from your movie.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that was quite brilliant.
And I loved it. I will say that everything we did turned out a million times better than we hoped. And I'm not saying it because we all did it, but literally I wanted that scene when they're in bed with the lightning. That turned out way better than I thought it was going to. The nightclub scene?
I'm glad you added a storm in there, because I was like, that's the Philippines.
No, exactly. And the rain outside was, I said, I really
was
want
that real?
No, it's like, I want rain in the window. So Alex went, sure. So Alex went and climbed up a massive tree and got the hoses there are no good, but he worked out a way to pressurize it and got water, and we had water. That was one of the scenes we had to ADR because of the water outside. I learned something from that.
Yeah.
I learned, don't turn it off when you turn around, just let it roll in the background, because then you'll end up having sound with rain in it and sound with not, and then you got to redo it. It's a pain in the ass.
How did you go about finding your actors? So obviously we're in regional.
Well, it's a long story.
Regional Philippines. So did you find them locally?
There were no local actors in the movie. They're all background extras.
Oh.
As you saw, I mean, the 2 main actors were, one's from England and one's she was Italian, but she's from London, and the other, Stephen Rourke's from Brisbane.
Yeah.
And the guy she danced with, he was just the guy in the town. We said, can anyone dance in the town? He turned up.
What was the casting process like for the background actors? Is there like a Star Now equivalent there?
No, because it was such a small town. I think the girls just went to. They all knew everyone. It was just a little town, so they just said, "Oh, we'll bring all the kids over," and they brought all the anyone who was over 18 could come. You didn't have to pay me. I mean, we paid them like $5 for the night. And that sounds terrible, but it's just the way it is. It was great. Those jeepneys, $15 for the day.
Whoa.
It's great.
That's amazing. Maybe I should go film my feature in the Philippines.
But there's lots of things to think about when you go over there. I mean, seriously, like things like, there's so many. I mean, the first thing I'd say to anyone who's going to make a feature film, hire a lawyer, and you got to get all your contracting done. Because if you don't have all your contracting done and everything kosher, at least on paper, seriously, like even down to when we shot in the streets, we still had the signs up saying we're shooting. We had to photograph all that stuff. We had security guards for some of the shoots and people to tell people further down the streets not to look at the camera when they came by. But all the people were wonderful. But you've got to have all these things. You've got to have all your paperwork kosher, because what happens at the other end is you'll make the film. It's great, whatever. And then a company wants to buy it, and they go, well, have you got you need to get a chain of title sorted out, and you need to get another thing called, you need a lawyer to basically go through all your paperwork and say it's good. And unless you get a tick of approval from them, no one's going to buy your movie.
Wow. So
you got to have that stuff. This is why you probably see a lot of people go and make these films around here, and then you never see them again. Because they haven't done the due diligence in all the paperwork and all the lawyer stuff. Like just things like clearing off. Like we were worried a bit. We had the Sony on our camera because we forgot to mask it. The simple thing is masking tape it off. But then we realized they don't care, so we moved on. But that could be a real problem.
Yeah.
Or there could be a sign in the background of your scene that might be a problem. I mean, usually it's not, but it could be. And if you don't get a lawyer to sign it off, no company will buy your movie because they don't want to get sued down the track. So this is why a lot of people don't think of that due diligence. So that's one thing. You have to get permissions from the towns and go speak to all the people. And then you got to think of things like someone came to me about a year ago wanting to make a film in the Philippines. And they said, oh, but we're going to shoot on this beach and we're going to do it here. So I said, well, let me get this straight. You're going to shoot on an isolated beach, 500 meters from a major hotel, right? You're 400 kilometers away from Manila. It's So what happens if the lens breaks? How do you get power out to the beach? What if an actor goes to the toilet and they got to walk 500 meters back to the hotel, go to the bathroom, walk 500 meters back? You've already just wasted half an hour of your day. Like, it's not as simple as you think, especially if you want it to look a specific way. We were out on the. I mean, we didn't have lights on in the streets, but we had all the big skiff things, whatever you call them, and the big with the frames and stuff like that.
Oh, right, yeah.
They were over the actors.
So it actually looked like a proper legitimate set. Like some of those market shots, I sometimes was like, oh, maybe they guerrillaed that, someone like sort of sneaking a camera around. Like.
No. It was all shot there, but we got permission. But yeah, we were working within the real world around us. I mean, and it was so funny. We turned up in that morning, being to the markets previously, and you turn up, they're not there. Where are the markets? And within an hour, they disappear. All the people come to work and everything just gets put up. And suddenly there's like kilometres worth of markets. It's crazy.
Oh, well, it looked amazing. Yeah. I had the opposite problem in one of my short films. I went there a few nights. There was nothing. And then the night that we went there to shoot, there was a market on. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Thankfully, they stopped pretty much right as we were about to start filming. But it was wild.
Yeah, it is crazy over there. And I remember hearing a rumour come down. Oh, apparently the people here, they want to stab you. Okay, I'm too hot to care. I don't care. Whatever. Keep shooting.
Yeah, how is it working with the temperature and the humidity?
It was hot.
In the Philippines.
But we went in there winter and it's still 36 degrees every day.
Yeah.
It was just vile. But when you're
was it during the rainy season?
No, we made sure it was before that too. So because then that would have been a problem. Because filming told us literally it will rain all day and then it'll stop for 10 minutes and keep going. So we shot in March before that started, and we're so lucky we made the film when we did, because we had a lot of issues getting up to the pre-production, and then there was a point because we had to change leads, but that's a whole other story. About a month out from shooting. Oh wow. The guy, and then and we got the right guy, and then there was talk of let's postpone it, and I'm like no, and I'm lucky we didn't, because if we'd postponed it we would never have made it, because we went straight into COVID then. Yeah. Because COVID started happening at the end of that year, and then we'd all be sitting around trying still to make that film. You know what I mean? We're lucky. Yeah. Yeah.
Was that your first feature?
First feature, yeah. But it wasn't my first. I'd made 12, 13 short films before that. They were all quite big.
Why do all the short films before the feature? Was it a confidence thing? You wanted to get better with the craft before? Or?
Well, I never thought of it that way. Yeah. You just do things, and then one day I was like, let's make a feature. Yeah. But, all my shorts, a lot of them are quite big. They're not little. Yeah,
2-minute things. They're 20-minute things.
Well, and they had big sequences in them, and it was always to learn and try and do things. And then, so thinking about the feature, it was kind of like just doing a massive short film. It
is just really just more days, more shoot days.
It is more days, more shooting days, but then you got to really think about, can you sustain the story for 80 minutes and all that stuff, and and then, there was a couple of scenes I wish we'd not changed, but you go, oh, I had no time to reflect on anything I was doing, because we're shooting in 4K, and that's another problem. You shoot in 4K, you got to remember all the storage or the amount of hours it takes to store it, so don't ever skimp, which we kind of did, and thankfully our wonderful sound designer and
SSD
he had to do all that as well, because it takes hours to copy all the stuff over. Yeah. And that, the night, that big long dinner scene, we literally had Michael upstairs rolling over, trying to get the footage off the cards. So we're putting the tracks down in front of the train because we're shooting and then we're running out of space, and then he's trying to get the stuff off so he can give us another card so we can keep
Storage
shooting.
Is my least favorite part of the filmmaking process. It's so expensive. And then you can never buy the right one. You'll buy a hard drive and then the next week someone will say, oh, you should have gotten that one.
I had to edit the movie across 2 hard drives, and it's still across 2 hard drives. And now you can buy SSD hard drives that are 8 gig, and that would have done it, and I would have worked at 20,000 times faster speed. It's crazy.
Wild. Was there a reason why your first feature was a romantic film?
It's just what I knew to do. I didn't want to make I'm not good at writing horror movies.
Were most of your short films similar genre?
No, they're all different. There's an action film, and there's comedies, and there's dramas, and it was just what I thought was the easiest thing I could do. Not the easiest, but just what I wanted to do. And then but maybe that was the mistake. I don't know. I don't care. If I ever have a career one day, it'll be the first film. But at the moment, it's just the film. Yeah. So, you hope to sort of build it.
How did you go about sort of finding the money for it?
Well, I got help from some family, and then another one of the other producers got a bunch of her friends. But it's easy. If you get 10 people to give you $5K, I mean, the money starts to rise up pretty quick.
Yeah.
$10K each, it does raise up. But I think the tricky...
You got to find rich friends.
Yeah, well, there's people, but even just wealthy, because you've got to remember, some people waste $5,000 on a holiday at an Easter every weekend or go for a restaurant, so...
What was the biggest thing that you found was the reason why they invested? Was it the business opportunity?
No.
Was it a credit in the film?
I think just that. But I mean, I think if they know you and they know you're passionate and you're just like, just give me $5,000.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean? Because if you're trying to tell them it's a business thing, you're lying.
Yeah.
There's no business anymore in all of this. It's very hard to make money back unless you make a horror film. Unless you make a good horror film.
Yeah.
And horror's the only one where you can literally get away with making it where you don't need stars. But my film probably could have used a name in it somewhere. Maybe we should just put in a third character who's in it for 10 minutes or just for someone.
Yeah, like a cameo or something.
Yeah, like an Isabella Lucas or someone, just to give it that extra. Because it's amazing that people literally think this stuff matters, but it does. So.
But your next film, do you reckon you'll go back to the Philippines or Thailand or something like that?
God, no. No way.
Why?
Well, not the next one. I mean, if I had a lot of money, I would. But no.
Didn't you say earlier that it was cheaper? Like you could have. It probably would have cost like 10 times as much to do it here.
But then it depends on the story you're trying to tell.
There's no $15 jeepneys.
No. No. The next thing I've been working on with my two closest friends, we've been working on a limited series, and that's going really well. We've worked on that for 4 years, and we got Endemol Shine behind us, and all this stuff's happening, but we're just trying to get over the line now. But that's taken 4 years to get that developed. Plus, I'm working on 3 other screenplays. So
yeah,
I am working on another low budget idea that I could make in Brisbane, but you wouldn't know I made it in Brisbane, and it is a crime thing. Oh, but that's still down the track.
Like a neo-noir.
Maybe I've got the idea. I have the see again. It's utilizing what I have. I know some really talented younger actors, like are really talented. They do a lot of acting stuff and a lot of classes and things. And I just remember watching one of them just going, "I should be the person who puts him on the map because he is going to go. He already is going." But it's like, well, then and we're mates, so let's make something. Let's do something where we put you front and center. But he's good. He's not your mate. He's really, because I see a lot of people make these films and you just think. You know how I always see every year in Queensland, you'll get like every year, and I'm not ragging on it, I'm just saying that you see every year a bunch of stunties go out and make their feature film, and they do the same thing every time. And you're like, I really respect what they're doing, and I guess I go for it, but think about why you're making that type of movie. Again, you're going after an action thing. But do you have Harrison Ford in, or do you have this person? I mean, you got to think: is it really going to get you?
It's you got to play it sort of strategic. I find obviously a lot of people are creatives, but they forget that this is a business too,
and it sucks.
And it's just you have to look at it like it is a product, and the more celebrities you have on board or good even like crew behind it, that also can sometimes lift the whole thing, and it just makes it a more appealing product. So
but then the right kind of celebrities.
Yeah.
Don't get a celebrity because they're an influencer and they can't act. That's not going to help you.
Yeah, the bloody YouTubers or
but they're not going to help you because it won't help you in the end.
Yeah.
And who's going to watch it? I mean, because I always look at it like, would my sister watch this film? Would my dad watch this film? Would my cousin watch this film? Not because influencers, people go, but there are millions of people watching it. It's like, yeah, but they're not watching movies. They're watching influencers. They don't care about cinema.
Yeah, it's not just the story anymore.
No.
I think I forget who said this, but there was a horror filmmaker maybe that was like, I didn't want to cast like a Jake Gyllenhaal or a Ryan Reynolds or whatever in this, because then they would just look at it like, oh, that's Ryan Reynolds or whatever, and then the story doesn't have as much weight. So it's hard to see like a horror film with celebrities often because you're just sort of thinking that's a celebrity. It's like it's not as real anymore. Like
maybe they're trying to make a real horror movie.
I think it might have been Talk to Me actually. Like I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast with them, and they were literally saying that they were like, we didn't actually want A-listers because otherwise it would have taken the whole sort of home like fun
feel
thing.
Of it.
It would just sort of take that story away.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense, and that's why that movie's done really well.
amazingly well. I mean, that's like
Huge.
It's almost picture perfect what every filmmaker sometimes wants. Like,
let's see what they do next.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always interesting to see what people do the second time. Like, have you seen Saltburn yet?
I have.
And it's just like, really? It's the best you could come up
Although,
with?
you know, I had never seen Promising Young Woman.
That's a really good film.
And I watched that one and just like a couple weeks ago. And I didn't mind. I actually preferred Saltburn.
No, I much preferred. I thought Promising Young Woman was excellent. And then Saltburn to me, I won't give it away, but I got halfway through the movie and went, oh, we're doing this now. I've seen this movie before. It's a really famous film that literally copies. I'm like, well, why would you do this?
I definitely expected, you know, you sort of like, you know, when the movie just gives it away. I definitely felt that was Saltburn. I didn't really get it.
I just thought, oh, I've seen this.
Like about halfway, I was like, the guy's crazy. He's probably going to kill everyone, take over, you know. But then he did some vile things, and I was like,
talented Mr. Ripley.
Talented Mr. Ripley.
Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah,
that movie's amazing.
Matt Damon, yeah.
So you don't go up against a great movie. She's gone up against a masterpiece, and you're like, but you're just copying the talented Mr. Ripley. We've done this story before. We've seen this.
Yeah.
And it was done brilliantly. Now you've just made yourself look amateur hour. And then I did find all her little slurpy bits just gross and sort of like it felt immature to me. It didn't feel clever. It just felt like I'm trying to be cool. I did
think it was like pushing it a little bit too far, probably. Yeah. With yours, did you have inspirations that you looked at?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely inspired by things like, I hate saying it because it then sounds like you're being so pretentious, but I mean, don't get me wrong, I always liked the Before Sunset movies, but then I knew, well, then I don't want to copy that at all, and I don't think I did. I mean, yeah, they could be seen as in that vein, but I don't think they are at all like
it felt
those
a little Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know, probably because of some of the cinematography.
Asia, but yeah, that's all about self-help. I don't think our film's about self-help, but
just throw in some Javier Bardem, and then you have your movie.
I just wanted to make that kind of really like earnest sort of romantic film, but then when you got to the other end of it, it's like, God, the movie's a little bit more cynical than I thought it was going to be, and then I'm always wondering whether that's because of our actress, who was wonderful, don't get me wrong, but she was quite hard in real life too. And I'm always wondering if that was because of her, like she made it more harder.
I guess, yeah.
If maybe someone else had been lighter and softer, maybe it would have come off different.
Depends.
Like you just don't know, but that's what's cool about it. You can't. I mean, she was still fantastic.
Maybe if she was, I would say, like, let's just say in an imaginary world, she was more charismatic. I don't think the story would have worked as well, because I think as the audience member, you get a little frustrated with sort of how uptight she is, but you also get to see how, like, a bit forceful the man character is. Yeah. And I think that clash from the get-go already gives you enough information that they might not be the perfect fit. But sometimes, like, opposites attract, I guess. So you're also torn that way. If she was a lot friendlier, I think you would have hated the guy the whole time.
Yeah, maybe. And then and it's funny, I just thought he was just trying to be nice. Like, I know women who thought he was lovely and thought, God, I would do anything to go out with a nice guy like that and hang around and go touring with him. He'd be great.
There are not that many.
No, but I know what you mean. But then other people are like, oh my God. I just think it's such a thing of today, though. It's like, do you know Bill Maher?
Yes.
Yeah, he was making a joke the other day on his show there going, you know, one of his, I think he must have been talking about Nikki Glaser, who's a great comedian. She was doing a college place or something, and you know, the kids all now just grown because they're making jokes, because this generation you're all a bit uptight. you can't sort of just enjoy things for what it is.
I know.
There's no subtlety. You don't like satire or subtlety or
too sensitive.
Everything's a bit too much. Get over yourselves.
All right, so Luke, give me some tips for younger filmmakers that potentially want to shoot a movie overseas.
Well, go in prepared. Get all your contracting and stuff correct. Like, really, don't ever go into anything thinking you're all friends. Yeah. It never works. And then what will end up happening is you won't have a film at the other end, because if you don't have all your contracting done, you're screwed. Yeah. You are screwed. Prepared. Think about why you're filming overseas. Is it necessary? I mean, again, I would never have done it if Fung hadn't lived there for 4 years and knew the infrastructure of the place. He knew the other places where to get gear and all that. If we didn't have Fung, we would have been screwed. Yeah. Because where do you go? Who do you talk to? Where do you get your information from? Where do you get your permissions? I mean, we basically had to get permission as well by the local gangsters.
Oh, wow.
I mean, we wouldn't call them that, but that's what they were.
Yeah.
Go and have dinner one night with this guy, a few drinks. You look like Tony Soprano in a Filipino
Got like
way.
a massive gun there.
Well, I don't know if he had a gun on him, but they took us out they invited us out to their new hotel, this new safari place out in the middle. We got on this thing and we'd driven out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, where are we going? And then we got to a gate with guys with machine guns. I'm like, what is going on here, guys? And
then also that's pretty standard in the Philippines.
Yeah,
like,
I know. But it was just then we got there
guards.
and it was a hotel, and they well, you should shoot the movie at our hotel. It's like, yeah, I would, but it's not really what we're after. And then it was just funny, but we had to get the permission.
Yeah.
And we found out we only just got permission now, even though we're already there because we were there for about 2 weeks before we started shooting.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it's all those things.
I love it. What have you got coming up, Luke? What are you working on?
Well, I've got the limited series thing we're doing.
Yeah.
I've got working on 2 other screenplays. Yeah, there's a few things.
I love it. Where can people find you?
Instagram, if you want. I don't know. I do a lot of photography if you want to look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, you do your headshots. Come on, give me
I
a
do
plug.
headshots, yes,
Yeah.
for actors. I'm doing some this afternoon.
Well, Brisbane-based mainly?
No, I'll come down here. Just charge an extra $50 to come to the coast.
Not a bad deal.
Or you can come up to see me.
All right, sounds great.
All that stuff, yeah.
Amazing. Guys, watch the movie. It's amazing. We'll find some links. You can watch it overseas at the moment.
You can, yeah. We're
things.
getting it on streaming here, yes.
And then we'll figure that out soon. Very good. Thank you so much, Luke,
Thank
for
you.
joining. It's been a pleasure.
No worries.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you in the next one.